Maybe I should explain how I think all of this came into existence. So watching what the Dread Expanse said here, 100% agree with him. The ley lines on Azeroth, when you look at the ley lines and how they flow, as I've already stated, once somebody in the quest where you need to find Vol'jin during Battle for Azeroth, once somebody tells you that Icecrown Citadel is far more than just a throne, it is the physical anchor to the next world. So the way the Great Beyond was set up to function, the way the Great Beyond works, is every soul in the universe, right, travels from where they die on their world into Azeroth, into the ley line system of Azeroth. From the ley line system of Azeroth, they all get directed to the top of Azeroth, the Icecrown Citadel, and from there flow straight into the Shadowlands. So this is to ensure that souls will always travel to the Shadowlands and not go anywhere else. This is the brilliance of the system. All souls that die in reality move into the Shadowlands through Icecrown. Now, be careful, as I said, don't confuse this with Icecrown Citadel. Icecrown Citadel was the direct outflow of the Jailer. Arthur's building Icecrown Citadel was at the behest of the Jailer. It's the location that is important, not the building. The building was built so that the Jailer could once again realize another step in his plan, the ultimate plan to eventually overthrow the Arbiter and get back what he wanted, or what he ultimately wanted. Now, in order for this theory to make even more sense, I have to share this with you guys. Alright, so we're just gonna take a look at the cosmology map, yeah? You guys knew this was coming, let's be fucking real. Pinterest, what in the fuck are you doing? Did I click on any of this? I legitimately just want the map, please. I legitimately just want the fucking map. Alright. Okay, so there's something that is very, very fucking weird. Yeah, fuck Pinterest. There's something that's very weird at the moment. And if you read the article by Steve Denuser, it will be in the description down below. In his article, Steve Denuser tells us that there was a great war, and that there is a great war that takes place between the 6 cosmological forces of the universe. All of them are fighting continuously to, shall we say, stay in power, if you will, right? Each one of these believes that they have the ultimate plan for the universe, and if their plan is to be realized, they would win, right? Or the universe would be saved because they would know what the fuck to do with it. Here's what has always bothered me, and here's something that we absolutely have to talk about, since this is something that a lot of people get completely wrong. Reality, as in the Great Beyond, all of the Great Beyond, yeah, does not in fact contain life, order, shadow, death, disorder, or light. Reality is a dimension on its own. The fact that life exists in reality, or life exists within reality, is because of life's interference in reality. It is not because life is present within reality. These are two different things. The creatures of life are demigods. These would be your Ursoks, these would be your Ysseras, these would be your Malfurians. They are the creatures of life, right? Cenarius. They are the creatures of life. We are not creatures of life. We are not the result of life. We are mortal beings. We were physically, according to Oribos and the denizens in Oribos, we were created by the first ones, not by the cosmological forces. So this stands to reason. If you're going to fight a war amongst yourselves, it means that there must be something that you're fighting over. Not so? Like, there must be something that you're fighting for, otherwise what's the fucking point in the war? Well, the war is for us. The war is to defeat us, to conquer reality. Why? Anima. The tremendous amount of power that exists within Anima. That is why this war is being fought. So in order to understand this, we have to go back quite a bit to a time, before the lore was actually recorded. A time where Blizzard haven't ventured yet. At some point, death gained the upper hand in the war, and death plugged itself into our reality. It managed to get the souls that exist within reality. At some point, I don't know when, this might have been before even the war that Xal'atath refers to. This is when death gained control of reality. Now, make no mistake, if you look at the Eternal Ones of the Shadowlands, and you look at the Titans of Order, they are very similar in what they do. So death having control of reality wasn't a problem for anyone, because the Eternal Ones of the Shadowlands did exactly what the Titans did. They just created. That's it. Steve Denuser, in his interview, tells us that the Shadowlands is a realm of infinite worlds. There are infinite worlds within the Shadowlands. I believe that before Bastion existed, and Maldraxxus existed, and Ravendreth existed, and Autumnweald existed, the Eternal Ones of the Shadowlands went around and created worlds. That's what they did. They would use their imaginations and they would create these illustrious and beautiful worlds. Now, Steve Denuser told us something else in this. He said that some of these worlds are beautiful, and in this he mentions Durotan, and how Durotan would probably be with his wolves in a place where he could hunt all day, and then, next day he goes out hunting again with his wolves. This would be the perfect world for Durotan. And at some point, Draka might join him there. But then Steve Denuser tells us that there is another type of world in the Shadowlands, a world of torment. Sometimes it's a timed torment, so you have to go there for a while because you were kind of evil, and you would suffer there for a bit before you can go to one of these beautiful worlds. And other times it would be a place of eternal damnation, where you would suffer for all eternity. So what happened? Well, each one of these Eternal Ones created worlds, and one of them was in charge of creating the ultimate evil worlds, Zuvul. Zuvul was the Eternal One tasked with creating the realms of eternal damnation. That was his job. Now remember, Dave has a pretty good getup here. Their setup is actually pretty nice. They gain all of the souls that exists within reality. Disorder can't have it, Light can't have it, Life can't have it, Order, Shadow, none of them can have it. Death gets all of it, but Death doesn't use the Anima. The souls simply move into the Maw, which is the literal welcome mat for these souls, and there the Eternal Ones judge these souls. The Eternal Ones sit in the city of the Maw, and if you look at footage of the Maw, it looks as if this is a city, a giant city that once existed. This was the palace, if you will, of the Shadowlands. And Gargua, the river of souls that runs through the Maw, that's where all souls entered from the ley lines, first of all from reality of the Great Beyond, into Azeroth, into the ley line system, into Icecrown, and straight into the Maw. These souls would flow. Even now, if you look at the physical world in World of Warcraft, if you look at the physical pictures of the game, even now, if you look at the physical state and the location of Oribos, it makes sense that Oribos was built after the fact. Oribos was not built before the Maw. It was built after the Maw for, again, a very specific reason. And I'll show you guys this in a second. Alright, so this is the Maw, this is Gargua, the River of Souls. as I've shown you guys this before, yeah? And all of it comes from there. That soul stream comes from there all the way in and down into the river, and now currently flows into Torghast. But what happens if we teleport to the Rings of Fate? This is very loud. I know, it's very loud. We'll fix it in a second. I need to show you guys this. Sound. Fucking hold on. Alright, so let me show you guys this. Yeah? And you need to pay attention. Server shutdown in 6 minutes. Yeah, just give me a sec, please. Let me just get this done. Alright, so the mole's on this side. The mole's on this side. Bylock, thank you much. Gabers, thank you so much for the follow. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Thank you to both of you. Alright. So, I want to show you guys this. Remember that soul stream that I showed you inside the maw? And how exactly all of this functions. Yeah, so that's the maw. That's the soul stream. You see it coming out of Oribos? Now, if you look up in Oribos, the soul stream comes from there. In other words, all souls, right? All souls flow from Azeroth, Icecrown, into the Shadowlands, into the maw. Oribos wasn't there when the first edition of the Shadowlands was launched. This world that I just described to you, where the first ones would quite legitimately only create worlds for souls to rest in, for souls to retire in. This was the plan, right? This was the plan. The maw would be the place where souls would get judged. And if you were judged irredeemable, too evil, you would get sent to one of Zuval's worlds. Now, this is where things get really fundamentally fucking interesting. Steve Denuser tells us in the interview that at some point, Zuval figured out that Anima is ridiculously powerful. So powerful, in fact, that you can use souls to create weapons. You can physically turn a soul into a weapon. This raised a lot of questions when we went through that interview. This raised a shit ton of questions as to what exactly is Frostmourne and the Helm of Domination then. Because that's literally what the jailer does. Zuval takes a soul and forges that soul into a weapon. So Frostmourne and the Helm of Domination at some point belonged to someone. Its souls were used to create that weapon. I don't know whose soul it was, but someone's soul. So let's go back to the cosmological map and we quickly talk about this. Zuval realized at some point that the amount of power that they're sitting on makes them a prime threat for the other cosmological forces, whom we've already established is at war with one another constantly. That is all that they constantly wish to do. They want to fight each other and they want to win. Right? This is their plan, is to win, is to be the number one, number uno, if you will. So unlike his brothers who, and sisters, who simply wish to create worlds for the souls to live in under their charge, he decides, no. Why have all this anima simply sitting there, ready to be used, and not use it to prepare ourselves for the ultimate war to come? So here Zuval betrays his brothers and sisters for the first time. The Eternal Ones clearly have no interest in interfering in the affairs of mortals. They never interfere. They are one of the only cosmological forces who quite legitimately keep to themselves. They don't interfere at all. Zuval creates the Morsworn. Beings that can travel between worlds. worlds that was never meant to be crossed over. He creates the Moorsworn. In other words, beings that can fetch specific souls that he wants for his weapons. And here comes the next betrayal. His brothers and sisters find out what he's been doing with his souls. The souls left in his charge, remember, the souls that is meant for eternal damnation, that he decided is too precious a resource to let just waste away. He's been turning them into physical weapons for his own assault on the other cosmological forces. This, I believe, is why they ultimately turned him, or why they ultimately banished him. And this is why they built Oribos. Oribos was built to divert the natural flow of souls, where souls naturally always flowed straight into the maw, where they would be judged by the Eternal Ones of Death and then sent to a world of their choosing. The Eternal Ones of Death realized, no, too much power for one person to have. We're going to make a construct that doesn't question, right? So this is a construct that will do what they do as per the instructions of the purpose. This construct will not have free will, will not be able to decide other than what the rules state they should do. So limited AI, if you will. And this is what the Arbiter does. She directs the souls, and Oribos allows for the souls to be diverted. So if a soul is sent to Bastion, Oribos overrides the original path of the soul and sends it to Bastion. If the soul needs to go to the maw, guess what? That never happens. This is why I believe this is what happened. Because we're told by Blizzard that the maw is where the irredeemable go, the ones that can't be saved. We know for a fact that the Shadowlands have never sent a single soul to the maw. They don't. This is why Devos and Uther interfered with Arthas. They interfered because Devos knew Arthas would not be sent to the maw, where according to Devos he belongs. She knew that the Arbiter wouldn't send it to the maw, because every soul you give to the jailer is a soul too much. Because he will use it to build weapons. He will use it to strengthen his army. So you have to keep him starved, and we now know that not even Revendreth sent souls to the maw. Revendreth used the souls that was irredeemable as batteries. And there's someone who asked me, but how exactly does the Anima recharge? Well, that's a natural process. All beings in the Shadowlands can do that. When they give up some of their Anima, over time, the Anima does recharge. So it is a natural process. The Anima builds up again, and then you can expand it again if needs be. So it takes a while. It's a slow process, but the Anima can recharge. So they knew they couldn't give souls to the jailer. Not only that, but how do I reach the speculation that the jailer, or of how the jailer betrayed them? How did I get there? Because I'm assuming a lot of you might be sitting there and going, Akelon, good theory, but there's a bunch of logical steps that you're just skipping over. Well, I decided to look at how the Shadowlands functions right now. All of the other covenants are allowed to keep their memories and keep themselves, yeah? Except for one. The Kyrians. They must be completely blank slate. What is the one thing that the Kyrians can do that none of the other covenants can do? What's the one thing that they can do? They can move between our world and the Shadowlands. You see, the Eternal Ones deemed that action so fucking powerful, so scary, that they could not allow for any being to be capable of moving between worlds if that being wasn't completely and utterly objective. This is why they strip you of your memories. To ensure that you would not pass judgment on any of the souls that you collect. Why would the Eternal Ones require that? If not because they saw what happens when the jailers Morsworn were able to cross over into the realms of the living, while not being completely and utterly objective, while being able to move willy-nilly and do whatever the fuck they wanted. They saw the amount of havoc that could be wreaked by a soul that can do that. This is why the Shadowlands is set up the way that it is now. If you listen to Steve Denuse's interview, you get the idea, because one of the questions they asked him, the Shadowlands doesn't seem fair. You know, we serve our entire lives fighting and doing whatever, and then we go to the Shadowlands, and there we're just conscripted again to serve more. So it really doesn't seem fair. And the way Steve Denuser answered that, I got this idea, this feeling, that the 5 zones that we know of in the Shadowlands right now, the 4 covenants of the Shadowlands, are not what the Shadowlands originally was meant to be. They were set up after the betrayal of Zuval. After he betrayed them, they set up these covenants specifically to stop this from ever happening again. To ensure that even if another of the Eternal Ones went the wrong fucking way with their beliefs, they could stop it. They would have the armies available. They would have the tools in their toolkit to stop another one of these brothers of theirs going the wrong way. And ultimately almost destroying the universe. Because I do think that's what Zuval wanted to do. The reason he wishes to destroy all reality is once you do that, all reality now exists within the Shadowlands, which means that the other cosmological forces can't do anything about it. What are they going to do? They're going to attack the Shadowlands at full force? No. That would be a suicide mission. The war would truly be over if all reality would come to an end. That's my theory on the Maw, on the Shadowlands, and more specifically on how Azeroth fits into that picture. She is the literal anchor of the universe, ensuring that reality and the Shadowlands have a link. I still believe that this wasn't always how it was meant to be. I think at some point you went to the world that you served under, and Steve Denuser did actually make mention of that. Demons go to Val, Titans go to Order, to one of their worlds, the Void go to the Void, and the Light go to the Light, and life goes to life. But I believe the original purpose of reality was that if you were just a normal commoner, you would go into the Shadowlands and there you would live the rest of your days in the worlds prepared for you by the Eternal Ones of the Shadowlands. If you were a priest of the light, you would move to the light once you died, and there you would serve for all eternity in the light, in your sacred charge as a warrior of the light. If you were a warlock or someone who embraced the foul, your soul would ultimately move to the foul side of things. If you embraced the void, you would move to the void. You get the idea. Whatever you served in life, that's the cosmological force that would have claim on your anima. But because of this war, because all of them want all the souls, they're not happy with just, getting what is owed them. Ultimately, death managed to claim all of reality. And I believe that's because death won. Death won the last war. And so it was easy for them to claim the souls. Now, the war isn't over. All of these other cosmological forces have been scheming and planning consistently, trying to figure out where's the weak spots. What do they need to do? But that's where I think this entire story sort of comes to a head, if you will.